everything in same thing. Okay, so now we're coming to this is important, data storage. So we are actually going to focus on this data types. So of course we have actually seen integer, float, string data types, right? But Python also provides a collection of data types which allows you to store a mix of multiple entries. So alphabets, numbers, strings, alphanumeric, and special characters. So remember that these are known as collection data types. So whenever the question is asking list the collection data types, so your mind should immediately come to this, which there are actually four collection data types. Take note that integer, float, and string, they are also data types. They are data types, but they are not known as collection data types. So there are four collection data types, as I mentioned earlier. So the first one is, you need to know all these four. So this part is important because definitely it will be assessed in your test, in the quiz. So you need to know what is list, what is tuple, what is set, what is dictionary, how to define them, what is the syntax to use to define them, does it accept duplicate, things like that. So we will see. So the first one, sorry, I just put my phone in silent. So what is list? We have actually earlier we have defined list, right? Remember we used a lot of fruits list and things like that. We use a square bracket. So it's an ordered collection that is changeable. So what is an ordered collection? That means you can actually use index. It's ordered. So the order that you type in, orange, banana, like that, means that is the order it will follow, which means you can actually use indexing to access that particular input. So that's what means ordered collection. And is changeable. Changeable means you can change at every index. Yeah, you can change. If earlier at index 1 was a string apple, you can change it to orange, no problem. And it also allows duplicate entries. In a list you can have banana, comma, apple, comma, orange, comma, banana, no problem. You can have duplicate entries. That is a list. Remember we just mentioned just now the tuple. That is now when you actually send the asterisk fruits, that is a variable length argument, right? So when it accepts, it will actually create a tuple. So what is a tuple? Tuple is again an ordered collection, which means that's why we can actually use the index, right, when we want to access what we want to print. It's an ordered collection. It doesn't change. Whatever order that you send in the input argument, that is the order it will follow, index 0, 1, 2, 3, like that. But it is unchangeable, which means you cannot edit, you cannot change the content. So just now the variable length input argument, it is a tuple, right, which means you can't change the content. Once it receives like that, that's it, you can't change it. So that's the only thing that makes it different from list. And it also allows duplicate entries. So all these characters you should know, what is a list, what is a tuple, and things like that. Now comes to the set. Set is unordered and unindexed. So you may type in a particular order, but then later when you try to print out and see, not necessarily it follows that order. It's unindexed, so you can't actually index it. But one of the characteristics of set is it does not allow duplicate entries, just like a real set. So in set, subset, you cannot have duplication, right? So there's no duplicate entries for set. And finally dictionary. So dictionary is unordered. You don't access it by using index. So later we will see how this is something similar to the switch. Remember switch? It has a key, it has an entry, right? So you're going to use the key to access. So it is unordered, which means you can't use index to access it. It is changeable. Yes, you can change the contact, but it has index collection of entries. Later we will see, because you said because you may think that I just said that you can't use index, but now it mentions index collection of entries. Dictionary can have multiple entries. Inside dictionary you can have set, list and things like that, and that list can have an index collection of entries. One more thing under a dictionary is it does not allow duplicate entries. So these are the basic broad categories of all these 4 collection data types. So this is the keyword, collection data types. So let's see one by one. So we are going to look at the list. So list is ordered and changeable collection of elements. So in Python, lists are written with a square bracket. So we have actually used this before, but we use a square bracket. So whenever you see square bracket, you should know that this is a list. So let's say put fruit list, for example. You can give whatever name, and if you use square bracket, so this is a list. Whenever you see square bracket, you know this is a list. So if you print the fruit list, then you will be able to see all the fruit list. We have actually done this in string, right? Something similar, but now we are understanding what does this mean. This is a list. Is that okay? Can I go to the next slide? So as we mentioned earlier, we can actually access the items or elements by referring to the index number. So let's say if you want to have orange means, then you can actually type print fruit list. Then remember the index, we must use square bracket also. To access any element inside a list, we must use square bracket. So index 1, so we are able to access. So this is list. Okay, simple. Now remember earlier we have actually used also negative indexing. Remember that -1 refers to the last item. So if we go -2, it means the the second last item and so on. So let's say we want to print the second last item. So we can also use, because it is ordered, right? So it's indexed, so it follows the order, so you have no issues in accessing. So you can also use negative indexing. So you'll get the fruit. Likewise, what else we have actually done? We have also played around with the range, right? So let's say if we do this, what will this print? What does this index mean? 2 means starting point, and where is the ending? Before 4. We have 2 and 3. So you get only the second and the third element only. So try the following and observe the output. not this one, I'll just copy paste only. Let's see if you, before you try, what do you think this will print? This is actually from the start until element 2, right? If this one like this, from element 2 till n. And one more one, we just try negative indexing. This one. This one. So this one, it only takes from -3 is the starting point, which is orange, right? And then the second one is the ending point. So before the ending point. What is the last element? Watermelon. So -1 means before that. So it should be banana. So orange and banana. So from -3 until one element before -1. Is that okay? So now we have actually seen the some of the characteristics of list is it is ordered and you can index it. So now let us see and observe the output. Now take note that list mutable. Mutable means you can change the value, right? So you can change the value of specific element by using its index. So let me just go back. Let me just copy this. So this one just for reference. So which one of the lists that you think you want to change? You choose any fruit that you want to change. Apple. Okay. So apple, what is the index of apple? 0. So you write 0. So you want to change it to what fruit? Durian. Okay. Now you can actually change it. So now when you try to print fruit list, do you see you changed it? So it's roll over apple at index 0. So you are able to change. So in a list, you can also check if an element is present by using the keyword in. So we can put if, let's say, apple. Currently apple is not in, right? If it's in fruit list, this is the if statement, then print apple is present in the list, else print apple is not present in the list. So when you execute this, of course you will get Apple is not present in the list. We have already changed it. So you can use the in. All okay? Any question up to this point?
Can you replace a range of elements?
Yeah, you can actually replace all elements. You can actually change
In one command.
In one command. Yeah, should be able to. Just have to define the list of the index with the proper. Let's try and see fruit list. This is a matter of syntax. Let's try and see. Yeah. But then it actually adds to the list.
I think it's because of the range you gave it, sir.
Yeah. 0 to 1. No, it doesn't accept that argument.
0:1 is just 0, right?
Sorry?
0:1 is just the index 0.
This one?
Yeah. Starts at 0, ends before 1.
Oh, yeah.
So we define the equipment.
Yeah, correct. We have to refine this. Correct. Thank you for the indexing. So you can actually change any index name also. Good question. Good for me also to try. Any other questions that you have? Sharp eyes on the ending point. So there are also some other methods that you can actually use, such as append. You can actually add the item, but it adds to the end of the list, which means you already have the entire list, but you want to add on to the length of the list. Insert, this is you add an item, not replace, you add. Just now what we did, we replace. Insert means you are inserting at that particular index, so it will push. Like just now earlier when I did, it actually pushed. So this insert, able to do that. You can also remove, you can clear. Clear means it will empty the entire list. So you can actually use the copy. So here why we actually use copy, because you cannot copy a list by typing fruit list 2 equals to fruit list, because fruit list 2 is just becomes a reference when you're using equals to the fruit list. So any changes that made to the fruit list will be made to fruit list 2 automatically. So which means it's just referencing to the original list. So whatever you change is not an independent list. That's what this thing is mentioning. It's not an independent list, which means whatever you change will automatically change there also. So if you want to really copy, then you have to use the word copy. Any more? And of course you have another one, which is list. It copies the elements of another list into another list. So these are the various type of methods that you can actually use. So, oops, sorry. So let's go back to the fruit list. Copy. So let's say just do this back, and now we want to use the append fruit list. Now these are built-in functions, so they call as built-in methods or functions. So use the dot method append, then you pass the variable. So what you want to actually add, what fruit you want to add, durian soa. Okay, so this will add to the last. So now the fruit list will increase. Is that okay? Can I go to the next one? So next one that we want to try is insert list. So we're going to use the insert. So for insert, there's two arguments. You need to first provide the index. So where you want to, let's say currently at index 1, what is at index 1? Orange. So let's say we want to insert something here. So let's say chiku. So you put index first, then what is it that you want to insert? Oops, sorry. So see that when I am not using the print function, when I want to list the fruit list, it also shows the square bracket, which makes you understand that this is a list. So now we have managed to insert another fruit. So now let's try to remove. You can also choose to remove any fruit that you want. Fruit list, remove. So let's say if I want to remove this banana fruit list, now it reduces, it removed banana. So now when you actually type fruit list, this is the updated fruit list. So if you're using fruit list dot clear function and fruit list, you see it still shows the square bracket, but now it's empty. There's no element inside this fruit list. So finally, so to completely remove a list, use delete keyword. So if you put delete fruit list, so this one, what it does, it removes fruit list totally. So now when you actually try to type fruit list, it says that it's not defined at all. Earlier, before deleting, we are still able to get an output which shows an empty when you use clear, but when you use delete, then the name is not defined at all. So you remove the list completely. Okay, let me just copy back the fruit list. So you can also oh sorry, I missed this one, never mind. You can also join the list by using a addition operator, arithmetic operator. So let's say you have two lists. So remember earlier, list not necessarily must just be string only. Yeah, you can actually have string and also integer mix. It can have multiple entry, it doesn't matter. So now let's use integer 20 and just randomly putting some value. So now if you put fruit tt is equals to fruit list plus width 1 tt and fruit quantity, this one try to print. So now it joins, all becomes a single list. So list, you can actually perform all this kind of operation on the list. You can add, you can remove, you can change, and you can add two lists together also. So that is on the list. So next, before we go to tuples, we'll take a 5 minutes break. Okay, so now we're going to continue with tuples. So remember tuple, yes. Oh. Why not? Just hold on. So now we're looking at tuple. So tuple is a keyword, is ordered collection, but it's unmutable. You cannot change. And you write it using the round brackets. So let's create a tuple. So let's say this is my tuple. So here you use bracket. So let's say Python for data science. So now when you actually print, okay, let me just use without print. So when you do this without the print, do you see that the output, it actually shows the bracket, round bracket, so which indicates that this is a tuple. So if you use print, you'll also see that the round bracket, you are seeing the output. So similar to the list, we can this is ordered, right? So we can actually access the elements of a tuple, but of course accessing any element you use the square bracket. So let's say, for example, my tuple, my tuple index, this is 0, 1, 2, for example. So you can see it actually prints out right. Okay, so far? So negative indexing and range of indexing, same. It works on the tuple as well. The same way how we use for the list. But nevertheless, we cannot change the values present in a tuple once it is created, because tuples are immutable. However, there is a workaround. we need to convert the tuple into a list first, change the list, and then convert the list back into a tuple. So let's see how to change. This changing is also important. I usually has asked before. So let me copy back my tuple. So this is my tuple, right? So let's say if you try to change my tuple 0 equals to cross my tuple, see, it comes out error. Tuple object does not support item assignment. It cannot assign new item. Once you create, we have already created, right, my tuple, you can't change it. So this is just show you can't change. But as I mentioned, there is a workaround, right? So you have to convert the tuple into the list first. So let's create a variable name which is my list. So how do you actually convert? So you just write the data type that you want to convert it into, which is in this case it is list, right? The same thing also applies integer, string. You can actually do that also, and you pass my tuple. Now when you actually do that, my list, now my list is a list, so you are converting that my tuple, which is a tuple, into a list. So if you want to see my list, what is the format? You see now my list is actually the square bracket. So which means now I can change. So let's say index 0, maybe index 1. So this one change is fantastic 4. So when you write this my list 1, which means you are already changing that particular index location. Now my tuple, so this is how this, remember this one, how you use this, because this one has been asked before. Tuple. So now you are passing, now you want to convert back the list after editing into tuple collection data type back. So you use tuple and then you pass my list. Now when you see my tuple, so you can see you are able to edit, but now it's back in tuple format. Is that okay? So this is the only way if you want to edit a tuple. Otherwise you want to edit straight away, you can't do that. Any question up to this point? So similar to list, we can actually loop through the elements of a tuple. You can use the for loop. Of course we didn't try this, we actually tried this, but we did in the for loop exercise. Remember, we used a list and we for k in that variable, we actually within the list we are able to view, right? So this is, we are able to loop through the element, and this is okay because this is all in ordered elements index. So we can check whether a specific element is present or not by using the keyword in, same like list, no problem. We can also determine the number of length of tuple using the length method or length function. You can use the same for the list as well. And you can also join 2 or more tuples by using the plus operator, just like how earlier we actually did. Just that, remember, once a tuple is created, we cannot add items to it. So all the earlier exercise that we did, add, insert and things like that, you cannot do on tuple. The only way you want to do, you need to convert like how you want to do before, then you need to add, append or whatever you want to do, remove, then you need to convert back. Tuple, you can't use the append, insert, remove all this item. The only thing that you can do is delete the tuple completely. That's the only thing you can actually do. Is that okay? So under the tuple methods, count method or function returns the number of times a specified value occurs in a tuple. So count is actually quite a useful function also. So let's say, did I copy? Yeah. Okay, my tuple. So let's say if you want to print in my tuple count. So count is a function and it takes in argument. So in this case, you can type anything that you want to count. How many times data. Why is it returning 0? Because every single element is one entry. So that's why you cannot find. So you have to be specific data science, then you will see 1. Because this is my tuple, every single entry is there, so it has to be exactly the same. So that is count. There is also index. Index searches for the tuple for a specified value and returns the position where it is found. So of course this one easy for us to identify what's the index, right, because it's a small thing, but you can also use the index function to identify. So let's say if you want it to print my tuple, I want to know the index of let's say 4. The index 1. So how about what is the index for Python? Is 0. It actually gets me the index. What is the index for data science? Index 2. Of course, if you search for any other than character, you will get an error. So you get a value error if a specified value is not present in the tuple. Okay. So far tuple is okay. So tuple, the only thing that is actually different from the list is it is unchangeable and you use a round bracket. So you can't use all this insert, but as we have seen earlier, there's a workaround. You can convert into list and do whatever that you want, then change back to tuple. But accessing and performing for loops, everything, all the other operations you can do. Next we will look at sets. Now sets, now this is unordered and unindexed collection of elements, and this one is written using curly brackets. So whenever in questions, you should also be alert to see whether it's square bracket or is it a round bracket or is it a curly bracket. Based on that, you're able to identify. Then you can answer the question. The question says, can you please, is it possible to insert an element into, then you see round, into this variable? Then you justify no, cannot, why? Because it's a tuple, cannot. Things like that. Okay. So let us define our set, my set. So this one is using curly bracket. So let's say now cat, put some animal names. You can put any names, any animals also, no problem. Okay, you have defined this. Now you actually try to print and see my set. Did you notice something? One is not in order. Another thing, it does not allow duplicate. So if you put 2 cat and you print the set, it doesn't allow duplicate, and it's not in order. So since sets are unordered, so the whole idea is to show that it's because it's unordered, so there is no index associated with this element. So it's like in a set, it is there, when you draw the set in maths, right? It's there, but it's not ordered. It's there, just not. But however, you can actually loop through the elements of a set by using the for loop, which means you can print out all the available in that tree. So what is my set just now? I copy this back. So I'll just change the last one maybe to Kaula, for example. So now do you remember how do we actually type the for loop function? For what comes after this? The loop variable. So I can give any name, for example x, and then in what is the variable? My set. Yes. Then don't forget the colon. So you can print x. So again you can see that it prints, but it's not in the order that we have written, right? But when you print, you are able to see all the elements inside. So note that there is no order in the printed output. So specifically in the set, we can actually identify whether is there a particular value in the set by using the keyword in. So let's copy back my set. Okay, what happens if you put cat here?
No duplicate.
Again, no duplicate. So it doesn't allow duplicate. Anyway, I just copy this, my set. Wait, what are we supposed to do? Oh, in. So we can straight away use the print. Tiger in my set. So what do you think the output will come? That is, I mean, in my list that's tiger lah. In my list that's tiger. If your list don't have, then won't come out. So if you put lion, for example, and get false. Is that okay? So set no duplication, unordered, unindexed, but you can check all the elements inside by using the for loop to go through. So that means doesn't matter how many elements you have inside, by using the for loop it will make sure that it goes through all the elements. And you can also use the in method to find out whether a particular value is it there in the set or not. Now another thing is, set is immutable. I mean, in the sense that you cannot change the elements of set once it is created, but you can add new items. So in a set you already have an element inside, you can't remove them out, but you can add the set to make it bigger. You can't remove, but you can add new items. Okay, so remember this set in maths, it's already part of it, you can't remove, but you can add more, right? You can include the set, the circle can become bigger and bigger, you can include it. So we can use the method add. So we're having the same thing. My set, sorry, I print back the, copy back the code. My set, so my set, we're going to use the add function. So what animal you want to add? I mean, put sheep. Huh? Sorry? Oh, panda. Okay. So now, oh, sorry. You can add my set. So now you can see panda is there in the list, in the set, sorry, not in the list, in the set. Panda is there, again not in order, but it is there. So now if you use the keyword in, you'll find out, yes, panda is there. So again there is no order. To add multiple elements, then we can actually use the method update. Add to add one, to add multiple elements, update. So this one, like the question you asked earlier in the list, how we actually add, but here it allows us to update multiple at one time, because there is no order here, so that's fine. In the list we have to actually specify the index location where you want to actually replace, or if you want to insert, but here because it's a set, you can actually also multiple upload, because you don't really care much about the indexing, so you don't have to specify that. So my set, okay, my set. So now put my set and you use update method. This update method, now you can keep on putting as many items as you want. So if you want to add sheep, goat, even though here update, if you put repeatedly any two entry, for example, again if you put sheep also, it will only get updated once. Sorry, I accidentally executed this. Why it came out like this?
It's the letters you put.
Sorry?
The letters in the words. It doesn't come out as one word. It comes out as separate letters.
Oh, sorry. I have to include the square bracket, because now we are entering several elements. Yep. So when you use the update and you have multiple, you have to include the square bracket. So you are updating the list of all these items into the set. So this sheep, goat and sheep is actually a list, but when you are updating into the my set, see that the sheep got twice, right? But the set only accepts one only. So that it doesn't allow duplication. So under the update, you have to update. If more than one, then you have to update it in the form of a list. So that's why earlier it actually take one by one. So again, note that sheep only appears once, duplicates are not allowed. The method length mySet gives the number of elements of a set. You can actually use remove or the discard method to remove an element in a set. Oh, so it does allow remove. Okay, forgot about that. So you can add and remove. Okay, let's see. Copy back. So earlier correction. So you can add and you can also remove. But you cannot change a particular element with another one because you don't have the index. It's unordered and unindexed. Okay. So now, just to clarify back, so you can add and you can remove, but whatever element that is inside, you cannot replace. I think that would be a better word to say. You cannot replace it because there is no index for you to actually replace it with. So let's say now my set, so that means this is increasing the set size and also reducing it. So remove, let's say, cow, then print my set. Okay. So we can now use the union method to join two or more sets, or you can actually use the update method to insert all the elements from one set to another. So just to be clear, on the set you cannot replace, then you substitute because there is no indexing, but you can add and you can remove. So let's type the following code. So this is my set, and let's say we have my set 1. So this one also curly bracket. So let's say we have 1, 2, 3. Just simply putting these two. So my set 2 is equals to my set union with my set 1. Then you print my set 2. So now you are able to combine these two. Sorry, earlier I didn't make the correct statement. Seeing this note after 1 year. So furthermore, you can actually remove the last item by using the pop method. And you can actually use the clear method to clear, and of course you can delete the entire set by using the keyword delete. So let's try to go to the last one, which is dictionary for data indexing. Now dictionary, as mentioned, is unordered, but it is changeable. You can change, and consists of index collection of items. So this is what I said, that similar to the switch, it has the key and value pair. Switch, remember, switch has the switch statement, which is a key, colon, value pair for every element. So dictionaries are optimized to retrieve values when the key is known. So in order for you to retrieve that any information, you need to know the key. So to create a dictionary in Python, we separate the key value element pairs by commas and place them in curly brackets. So let's try to create a dictionary called as my dictionary. So my dictionary equals to curly bracket. So when you press enter, so this my dictionary is a curly bracket. Now inside this is where you're going to have that various element which has the key pair element. So let's say the first key is name. So this is the key colon and the value name, value key and value. So this is the key and this is the value. So this is just the one pair of element, but you can have multiple. So how you want to actually separate multiple? Just put comma. Then you can actually put purpose. So it's another key, data science, and then comma. So this is something like how you see in a library, right? Year. So you can see here, this is all the key, name, purpose, year, but the value, this is string, this is integer. So this is why you mentioned by you can actually have, mix kind of data types. So now when you actually print my dictionary, it will show you in this format, curly bracket. So how do you now differentiate between the set curly bracket and the dictionary curly bracket? Is look inside. Do you see this kind of pair, key element, key value pair, which means you have some value, colon, pair, comma. So this is key, this is the value. This is the key, this is the value, this is the key, this is the value. So take note that the values can repeat. You can have the values repeat the same time and can be of any data type. Now, however, this one, strings must be a unique and immutable string, number or tuple, because you're going to use the key to actually get the value. So key cannot be duplicated or cannot be the same. So either your key can be string, number or a tuple. So previously what is the type that we use? Yes, we are using a string. So we can use square brackets to access a specified value of a dictionary by referring to its key name as follows. So if we want to access the value for the key name, so how do we type this? Simple, you just type print my dictionary and you use square bracket to access the element. But here in the square bracket you need to mention if it's string, then put the string name. See, you are able to get it. So how does it actually searches in the dictionary? It is looking for this key name and it returns the value. So this is the key, the name, this is the key that you need to provide and it will return the value. And there is another way also you can do that. This is one way. Another way is you can actually use the get method. Get. So print my dictionary So if you don't want to use the square bracket, so you can use the get method. So all get methods is all around bracket. So in get method, the argument is you need to provide what is it, what is the key, then you will be able to get. So two ways. One is if you're calling the dictionary and if you're specifying the key directly, you use square bracket and the key name. Another way is by using the get method and you specify the key name in the get method. So when we try to access a non-existent key, we get the message none. So for example, if you type print my dictionary, so let's say in if you want to use the get function, get, so do we have a key by the name address? We don't have, right? We only have name, purpose and year. So if you say none, because you couldn't identify the key, there's no such key. So same thing also, if you write the same way, if we're going to use the square bracket, so when you use address like this in the square bracket, this one will return a key error because there is no key in the name address. But if you use the get function, it will give you none. So this is what mentioning the other one. If we run the print my dictionary, you get the following error, key error. So the error means that the key doesn't exist. Now we can alter the value of a specific element by referring to its key name as follows. So we'll do this one and then we'll stop. So let's say you have my dictionary, square bracket, we had year, right? Year. Earlier, what was the year that we put? 2020. So let's put 2023. So you can change it 2023. Then you can try to print my dictionary. So now you see it has changed to 2023. So you can update. Okay, I'll stop the recording.